Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so excited you decided to come to session 2. So welcome to the Self-Care for Frontline Helping Professionals, a mindfulness video series. And once again, this is for anyone really in the helping profession that right now is dealing with, the stress of COVID-19. So that's teachers, healthcare workers, therapists, really anyone that's really there and really holding a lot of people right now emotionally. So what I talked about yesterday is that each week we're going to be talking about a specific part of mindfulness. And then at the end, we're going to actually have a mindful moment. And there's a reason why I'm going to wait on having that mindful moment, because it's easy to jump into this and not understanding why all of this is really important. Then you might be feeling like, oh, what was the whole point of that? And I don't want you to be watching this video and be like, okay, I did my mindful moment, everything's over, because this is really about helping you in the long run. And I love mindfulness, so I'm excited that you're here. So once again, my name is Tamra Cajo, and I am the director of the Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Clinic at the Florida Center. And once again, I have a deep love for mindfulness, and I'm a meditator. And because I'll be honest, through many years, my mind has been all over the place, and this has really helped me to be grounded, and I hope it'll help you as well. So what we're going to be talking about today is two concepts. One, just kind of explaining what is our mind and what does our mind do. And I talked a little bit about this yesterday. And then really getting into one of the important tenets of mindfulness. And that's really the practice of paying attention in the present moment. Okay? So once again, what does our mind do? It really does have a mind of its own. And we naturally go everywhere. We'll naturally be thinking about the past, the future. We wonder about things. We get distracted about things. We do that. And so that is human nature. And I will repeat that as human nature. Because I don't know how many people have told me, I'm not good at mindfulness because my mind wanders. Well, welcome to being a human being. So just that in itself, your mind will always do that. And the other thing that really gets into some issues is that we really add in another layer. We have like this distorted lens where we start making judgments of liking something or disliking something, or something is good and bad. And that just creates even additional layer to all the craziness that we're doing with our brain, with our mind. And the way we're looking at our mind, we actually kind of have, everyone has their mind and their mind of their own. Everyone is really different. And we're really filtering our thoughts by how we judge our experiences. And that's from past experiences, which I know a lot of people who are in the helping profession understand trauma and how it impacts, our current stressful thinking. So but it also, and so that may lead to feelings of, oh, I'm not good, or I'm not that. And we start making those judgments based on traumatic events. And there's a lot of research that's showing things like that. But it's another thing I wanted to kind of talk about is not only just traumatic events, but also how our parents, how our relationships have impacted how we experience life. So let me give an example. If, let's just say, I failed at something when I was a kid, I might have my mom who might be like, you should have known better. She might have said that, she might have not said that. And so what happened was my mind adapted to what my parents were doing or what they felt comfortable with or didn't feel comfortable with, and then I internalized it. And so then what ends up happening is it's become an automatic player. It's like a record that keeps on going on and on and on, based on how my parents had felt comfortable or not comfortable with a certain feeling. Or if, let's just say, I got angry, they're like, oh gosh, you're crazy. So now every single time I'm angry, I'm thinking those same things of, oh, I'm crazy. But really what that is meaning is that I have a feeling, which is a fact. My parents had an interpretation of how I was feeling. Then I start interpreting and judging my feeling. And so now it just gets that whole other layer. Does that make sense? But at the same time, that has continues to influence our mind. So you think about like our home stresses, our work stresses. Once again, sometimes it's we have the layer of our parents, and then maybe our significant other and our bosses, or however they're putting that in. So then we take that on as well. But the reality is those filters are not fact. These are just people who are coming from their own personal experiences, judging your experience, and it goes on and on and on. And so it's important just to remember that what our feelings are sometimes not fact. They're just judgments from other people and from ourselves. And so just to kind of remember that in our mind, so that we eventually will be able to kind of understand and separate from that. It's crazy how our mind works. We get so attached to it. Like someone might be listening to this video and being like, you know what, Tamra, you don't know the real me. And I'm like, okay, what's facts? That's just an emotional interpretation to what you're talking about. And so that's where you want to, it's a practice. And this is something that's so much easier said than done. But the one thing I could say is the more you start practicing in what is fact and what's happening right now, the better you're going to be, that you're not going to get as attached to those feelings as you might currently do. Because, and I talk about, we have this automatic response. So we have, if I make a mistake, I might have the thought of my mom being like, oh, you should have known better. Like that's that automatic response. And the thing is with these automatic responses, sometimes you don't even realize that it's happening. It just becomes so automatic that all of a sudden these feelings become us, rather than really this is an automatic response to how we have adapted to circumstances in our life. And it's the same thing with our body. I know that many of you might know just the impact of stress on our body. So if I'm stressed, my body just automatically adapts to it. So I might be, to survive, I might be breathing superficially, I might be sitting, I might be not sitting straight, I might be doing a number of things, just how I adapted to stress. The problem is this becomes my norm. So I end up not even feeling my body anymore. This is just how I am. And so with mindfulness, what I want for us to be working on is really starting to practice separating out, okay, what is happening right now, and what are those automatic reactions that are happening in my mind and in my body, so that we don't have this extreme attachment to that is who I am as a person. You got it? So what does it mean to notice and be present? It means exactly that. It means paying attention in the present moment, noticing things as is without an interpretation. It's the here and now. It's the reality of every day is a new experience, in taking each moment as is. So I will give a perfect example of this. I have a friend of mine, and now we've laughed about this because I'm always thinking about this when I'm talking to people. So she was moving, she just started a new job. And during that time, both her mom and dad actually had some, this is not the funny part, actually, this is a sad part. Both her mom and dad actually have some health issues. So she had a lot on her plate, and she was dealing with just her family and all that stuff. And then she's like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm really upset and stressed. What's wrong with me? Now, okay. Now, if you, on the outside, we'd look and go, okay, what are the facts? The facts are she started a new job, her mom is sick, her dad is sick, and she's upset. Is there any reason why we have to interpret any of that? Because why couldn't we just have her be upset with her being upset without saying, why am I upset? What's wrong with me? And we do this all the time. And so that's where you want to just look at what's going on in this present moment. And because then this is going to help you with staying grounded with everything. And I think about in our profession, here we are, we all got into our profession for something. We wanted to help somebody. We wanted to save somebody, or we wanted to teach someone something. We had this goal in our mind. But something that I had mentioned before is when we have expectations, we lead to disappointments, because an expectation that, let's just say, you have for me may not be exactly what I need, or the timing may be a little off. And that doesn't necessarily mean that one is good or bad. So if we are with somebody in a helping profession, especially now with COVID-19, and we're just going one moment to the next moment to next moment, that's it. That's all we need to do right now. And so some might be feeling like, I'm not helping people the same way. But you don't know how you're helping them. If you are present with someone in every moment, that is something. So and I go back to how we perceive results can get us into trouble, because like you think about it, maybe, I think about, let's just say every session I'm working with somebody and I'm waiting for somebody to have insight. And so let's just say for 1 year, there's no results, and I'm getting frustrated and I'm getting annoyed and I'm giving up. And I have no idea that next session, that person might have had some insight, but I've already had a whole year of getting disappointment. I just missed the boat. But if I continue to be present each time without judgment either way, I'll be ready and patient for that moment that person's ready for some change. Or it can be that, let's just say, I'm wanting one thing, but really the person who you're helping is really looking for something else. So let's just say even something as, I think about, there could be a doctor that's helping somebody when they're dying. Maybe the patient doesn't want the doctor to save them in that moment. Maybe all the patient wants is for you to be present in that moment with them. And that's it. So here the doctor's like, no, results need to be looking this way, when the patient's really looking at results need to look something different. And that happens with everything. And so that patience, you know what? Our mind is amazing and it has the answers to so many things. But if we are able to stay in the moment and not rock the boat and just go second to second, moment to moment, eventually you may see amazing things result. The problem kicks in when we're impatient and we want to change something quicker, and then we become reactive. But it's about just sitting and noticing and seeing what may happen. And that's the same thing with us. We may want to solve our problems, but the more that we just can sit with the moment to moment, and sometimes there's going to be discomfort, and sometimes there's not going to be discomfort, but the more that you practice sitting in that, you don't know where it can go. We have no idea. So it's really about we oftentimes take granted the ordinary, and we fail to grasp the extraordinary out of the ordinary. And I'll give a perfect example of something that this just kind of reminds me of. So I used to work in a school, and I use mindfulness a lot when I'm working with kids. And so I was having lunch with a kiddo who was having some struggles, and we do different mindful moments. And so this was a mindful watching moment. So what we did was we were looking at a tree, and looking at all the different things that we notice of this tree. Now, keep in mind, I see this tree every single day. I've had lunch near this tree all the time, but I did not take 5 minutes to look at this tree. And what was so cool was that the more we looked at it, and at first there wasn't that much to nothing that appeared very remarkable of this tree. The next thing we know, we noticed that there was actually a nest with some birds on top. And that's what really mindfulness is about. There might be times where you're just sitting there and noticing things and nothing may not happen. It just might be a tree is a tree. And a tree is pretty cool. But then all of a sudden we saw a tree is a tree, and then we saw this bird. And that's where we could see within our profession, in our moment to moments, that the longer that we could just stay in the moment and trust that being present with people can really make a difference, or being present with ourselves, because mindfulness is all about ourselves. And so I went back to talking about the negative messages I might have gotten from my mom or from a boss or from a significant other. Really, the work is within me so that I don't need to attach to that. So the longer I can sit with that discomfort, you don't know what can happen. That I might see one day a bird in a nest, if that makes sense. So that's why it is about practicing just to be noticing things for what they are, and that you might start seeing things in a different way than you ever saw before. So your homework assignment this week for next week, if you can, and you can do any number of things, literally you could set your timer and just for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, you can do a couple things. You can look at a tree and just write down the things you notice, or you could just sit down and just notice the things you're thinking about without judgment. Or you can listen to the birds and just for 3 minutes, just do a mindful listening exercise and just write down all the things you hear. And you might be surprised that there might be more going on that you missed out before. So thank you so much for coming. We will have another webinar next Wednesday, May 13th, same time at 1 o'clock. And we will be talking about the concept of non-judgment and loving kindness and self-compassion. So I look forward to seeing you. Bye.